Welcome back to the channel, guys. You've joined me once again here in the beautiful Swedish countryside, and it's one of the most beautiful days in probably about a few weeks, maybe even more than a month. It is literally in like Fahrenheit, it is 42 degrees, but with the I think the humidity level, it literally feels like it's about 50-ish, like about 50, 60. But guys, it is absolutely beautiful. Like, I literally don't even need this coat. I could be out here in just this sweater by itself. I could actually take my hat off as well. But anyway, guys, so as you saw in the title of the video, I get a lot of people who ask me, how did I get here? How was the process? People that I know in Stockholm City, and also people back home, people that have messaged me on my Instagram and so forth. So I made this video because there's videos online about this topic, within countries that you go around the world. Some people explain it in detail, some people leave some things out. So I'm going to do my best to try and explain it all to you. So number one, right? The number one question is, how do you go about moving to, sorry guys, as I'm talking to you, I'm going to give you a little bit of the scenes right here. So I found, there are like, where I live, I mean, anytime you get out of Stockholm, I mean, Stockholm also, you have this stuff, but you drive a little bit further out. I mean, Sweden is literally a giant forest, but with buildings built in some areas. But this, I mean, there's so many forests and areas around where I live. I don't spend a lot of time in Sweden. Like, I don't live here full time. So I am between Sweden, New York, and the Caribbean. So, I'm here a few months. I'm back in New York a few months. I'm probably somewhere else in the world for a few months. So forgive me if I don't remember names or pronunciations and things like that, because when I say I'm not so invested, it means like, someone who comes here to live in Sweden permanently, they have to get involved and learn these things. But I'm doing my best as a traveler, right? I think the number one subject that a lot of people have asked me about is, how do you go from, okay, living in New York and being able to come or live in Sweden, buy a home in Sweden, or make it comfortable for yourself, right? The answer to that question is there are multiple ways. So the number one way is if you met a Swedish woman or a Swedish man and you get married, and then you guys, you apply for your Swedish residency, and then once you get your residency, you move here to be with that person, right? That's the number one way. Then you become a Swedish resident and things like that. Then secondly, there is if you have like family or kids or something like that, right? But I would say most people that watch my channel, or friends that inquire about this, don't have either of the other two things that I just mentioned. So this category exists for a lot of, and guys, as I'm recording, as I've said, I've never been in this area, so I'm literally just walking, recording, and looking at the same time. So the third thing is, this exists. Let me show you guys. I'm sorry that I keep changing the subject, but I don't think you guys want to like just stare at me only the whole time. I think you also want to see a little bit of the scenery. And, this is what Sweden has, a lot of rocks. Sweden is a giant rock. It's all built on a rock. So there's this road that goes all the way up there. But what I'm going to do, guys, as I make this vlog, I'm going to walk. I'm going to keep walking, show you a little bit of the scenes. So the third thing is, countries around the world, like Portugal is very big on this. I mean, pretty much every country has their own rules and laws on how they, go about this process. So this process involves basically, let me give you guys a view. This is really nice. I absolutely love stuff like this, people. Like, I am literally the only one here right now. As you can see, I could literally lay on this road and just fall asleep. But anyway, so every country has their way of going about this, right? So basically, Sweden, in Sweden, there's countries where it's called, some countries, they call it a golden visa, right? A golden visa really means that basically, or a golden passport, it means that basically you pay, some countries have a requirement where, you have to, buy property in excess of $1 million. I know London had that. I know New York has that. I think they changed it a little bit now where they put it up where how much you have to pay in order to get a residency or U.S. citizenship, right? Every country pretty much has their way of doing it. In Sweden, for instance, you can apply for a residence permit. No, not a residence permit. It's like a residence permit, but it's up to 9 months to 1 year. So basically you apply for it every 9 months. So you can be in Sweden, I think it's up to 9 months to 1 year, where you can live here. I think they give you like a temporary personal number, but here's the thing. You cannot work here, and you cannot work. You cannot get any of the health services. You're literally not entitled to anything that a normal person who has a residency permit would get. So you can get this. It is called a permit, similar to a residence permit. But now the catch to that is, you have to also be able to pay for your own health care. You have to pay for your own home, meaning that you cannot get a loan. You cannot get any support from the bank or anything. You have to pay cash. So if your house costs 1 million kroners, you have to pay that cash. If your car costs, I don't know, 300,000, 400,000 kroners, you have to pay that cash. Let me give you guys a view here. This is super beautiful. Yeah, guys, so you have to pay that cash. And before the application process basically is, you have to prove to the Swedish embassy. I'm from New York, so I had to go to Washington, D.C. because they don't have one in New York. So they only have a consulate, which doesn't deal with this stuff. So you guys know this as well. So, I'm explaining this in detail, like what I've been through. So, when you do the application, I live in New York, so it was a 4-hour drive for me from where I live to the embassy in Washington. And, the consulate in New York, they don't deal with like residency permits or anything like that. They're only like a support for the embassy. So keep that in mind. It's 4 hours there, 4 hours back. I love to drive. I have a car in New York that I really love to drive. So it wasn't a problem for me to do the road trip. As you guys notice, you see where I'm at right now, right? So that being said, that is the process to being able to, if you're in New York and you say, okay, I don't have a spouse, I don't have someone that I'm marrying, and I don't have any way to get a residency permit. So yes, that is a way for you to be able to come here, live for maybe 9 months. I think they say 9 months to 12. So if anywhere from 9 to 12, they can grant you that. Then the following year, you can apply for it again. I think the process takes about 3 months wait, and then they give you another permit. Then you can come back again. You just could keep doing. You can, if you have a property here, you can continue to just, apply for this every year. But again, keep in mind, it's not like you apply for it, the 12 months is done and then you're back again the following year. No, you have to return to your country of origin and reapply for the application. As I said, the fastest the process I've ever seen the process take is about 3 months. It could take longer than that while you're in your home country. So granted, if you own a home or whatever it is that you've purchased here in Sweden, it's going to be sitting there until you're able to come back. Now, you are able, with this permission, you are able to get your internet. You pretty much get every single service that you could with when I say this, I mean, like when you purchase your home, remember, you have to buy cash. There's no loans, there's nothing. So everything you literally do for that year is going to be cash. The other thing is when you purchase, so I think I pretty much covered, how you can come here in Sweden. I think, the first one, as you guys heard, is getting married, as most people will do. And the second thing is the golden visa, spending over, I don't know how much Sweden charges for that. That's another level. Like if you purchase or invest in the country or have a big business, of multi-million dollars, you easily can get like a residency that, would go for most people, right? But if you end up in the category where you have a little bit of something saved and you are able to purchase a home or, whatever it is, and you want to be here, or apartment or whatever it is, you can do that. Now, the next thing is a car. Purchasing a car is relatively really easy. Here in Sweden, car prices, I mean, compared to like neighboring Denmark, a lot of Danish people come to Sweden to purchase cars, and, because it's a little bit cheaper, the taxes here when it comes to purchasing a car than in Denmark. In Sweden, there's one thing you will never escape from, and that is taxes. And not just in Sweden, even in New York. The thing we have in the United States is there's two things you can't escape in life. There's death and taxes. And that goes true, I think, for pretty much every country in the world. Okay, Sweden's taxes are high. They're really high. If you're working, like a Swedish wage, the tax is like compared to America. But then again, the things that they get for the taxes in Sweden is, included in a sense. But I don't want to go deep into that because that's a whole nother subject. But you will have to pay taxes. With my car, I pay road taxes. What else do I pay? Like congestion tax, and then property tax, I think. I don't even remember what, because I have it all set up in my system. But anyway, guys, so that's one thing. So just keep that in mind. It's relatively easy to purchase the car. Then I'm going to get to the next thing that is probably on most people's minds. Guys, look at this beautiful view here. That looks like a lake down there, actually, because I could see the water is frozen, and I can show you this beautiful road right here, and up here I can show you where I'm coming from, guys, and I am headed down there, and I'm going around there. I'm just gonna now the light's going away and it's 2 o'clock, but I'm gonna go a little bit down there, show you guys a little bit of the houses, and then just talk about a few more things, and then we're pretty much, yeah, look how nice that is, guys. Beautiful. This is one of the things that I just love to do, people. Like, this is why I moved here in the countryside, because I just love doing stuff like this, just peace and quiet and away from the city and a lot of people. And like, listen, like if I just shut up right now, listen, just the birds and nature, and there's someone's house, like a cabin all the way over there. So beautiful, guys. The next part I want to talk about is bank accounts. So with this number that you get, which is like your personal number and things like that, you can use that to also open a bank account, transferring your money from wherever you live to that bank account. But also a lot of bills in Sweden, you can pay with IBAN. So your IBAN, for most people who don't know this, it is like an account number. So basically, if you have a bank or wherever you live, you can use that. The bank will have a number for that. Every bank in the world has that. So you can, oh wow, guys, look at this. Wow, sorry. That is a beautiful little view, like a window into another part of the forest. But as you can see, the difference between the snow and the road, it is very difficult for a car to go in there, to explore. I can walk in there, but I'm not wearing the right boots today because these boots aren't high enough to go in there. So I'll give you guys another view of where I am right now. As I said, I am just walking through the forest, having this conversation with you guys. So every bank will have like an IBAN number. So this way you can pay your bill, your internet, your light bill, things like that. It's very easy to set up accounts. So guys, you get it. That is the way you can, not to say you can live in Sweden, but again, it's not on a, like a permanent basis, like a residency card. Now, this needs to be noted that if you are in Sweden to be with someone and you have an application in process. So if you have an application in process to live with someone in Sweden or to visit family or live with family or friends, you cannot apply for this type of, say, residency permit to be in Sweden. You cannot do it. And even if you already have an application in and you try to do it, obviously we're in modern times. There's a lot of technology. They will see it. So I need to make that perfectly clear so no one gets that mixed up. Like, you have a partner. Oh, I can be there. And no. And again, you have to prove that, oh wow, my voice is echoing in here. You have to prove that you can afford to be in Sweden. And that is, I would say, it's going to be in a substantial amount of money, because remember, you have to be able to take care of your if something happens to you. Now they think about the worst case scenarios. So think about that. A trip to the doctor's office can set you back, depending on the situation, 10,000, 15,000, 18,000, 20,000. It depends. The dentist, whatever it is, that can set you back. So they put that into account. They put into account your living expenses. You can also rent a place. You don't have to purchase a place. But again, you're doing everything with cash, your own money. I think I pretty much answered that part of the questions. The number one, how are you able to come and live in Sweden, without marrying someone, without, having like a golden visa? It is, you apply for this permit. It is on the Swedish Embassy's website. You can apply for that, or you can call them, ask them what forms you need, and you can apply for that. Now, you have to wait until you get approved. So once again, you have to have a substantial amount of money in your account. You have to, if you're renting a place, you have to prove that you can afford to live in this place, and you have to show where you're going to live, the paperwork, all of this. So it is a tedious process if you don't necessarily have all your ducks in a row. It's a lot easier if you have like a bunch of, well, not a bunch of cash, but you have the money sitting in your account. You can just say, here, I purchased it. Now, the other thing really quick, you can purchase a home once you have this document. So you can go down to the Swedish tax registrar's office and get what is a temporary like personal number. But again, you have to have this approval to get I hope I answered pretty much the questions that that were posed to me. There's some other questions. So I'm gonna get into this segment, which is basically, what is it like to live in the Swedish countryside, especially coming from a city like New York or compared to Stockholm? Well, the first thing I'm going to say to anyone who watches my channel and you aspire to do this, to live in the Swedish countryside, I mean, I live alone, guys, so I am literally here by myself, and I live here by myself, not in this particular woods, but in a woods similar to this. I am a loner. I don't have a problem being alone. I relish being alone, being able to do my own thing, to meditate, to be able to be home, just relaxing on my own, not that, I'm not social. I'm very, very social, but so this is also a side of me that I have. So I don't have a problem being here by myself, or being in the countryside and not having to meet friends and go out and socialize. Yes, sometimes that's nice, but I don't need it all the time. So that, I'm just letting you guys know, I'm that kind of person. So now that leads me into my number one advice to anyone who's considering this is this, right? If you're a person who enjoys alone time, but also doesn't mind being alone, doesn't mind, like I'm doing right now, or, you relish, or, you, not to say happy, but relish is a word that means, like you get joy out of exploring and, not having to have company or having to socialize or go to the coffee shop or do this or do that, then this is for you. This, you will enjoy it, because it's very important for you guys to understand, or anyone thinking about doing this. If you're a person who, you need to be at the cafe and hang out with people, and it's, people around, and, like go out to the bars, or to socialize, or, do things like that, I would say from my experience, a majority of the Swedish countryside, it's not really like that. You do have cafes in some towns. You do have bigger towns. Where I live, between any big town right now, it's probably about 1 hour for me to get to like what I call a big town, where you have like, massive stores and IKEA and things like that. Anything else within like forget walking. That's why it's important, guys, that that's another thing. If you're going to be living up here, you're going to need a car. no matter where in the countryside. The bus service is very reliable, but again, the bus doesn't come in a place like this. There's no bus service here, so it's only so much you're limited to. You can take the bus and you can walk here, but it's easier when you have a car. I would personally say a car is like a definite thing you're going to need when you're here. The other thing about it is now it's the difference between living here in the countryside and Stockholm City, for instance, is that, because I've been to one of the big towns and I also find the same thing, is that you're going to, not to say give up, but you don't, obviously that's going to be a given. When it comes to grocery shopping, you're not going to get the same things or the same amount of variety as you will find in Stockholm. That's one of the things for me personally that I wish we'd had. Like, for instance, there's a lot of meat here, right? Not so much fish choices, yes, they have like one or two, but what I mean is when you're in Stockholm, and I love seafood, when you're in Stockholm, you have a wide variety. But again, that is given. I'm just making note of these things. People will come in and say, well, no, you can go fishing or find it. It's not the same thing. We all can agree. If you're in New York City, you're going to get a million times more options than if you go to the furthest part of upstate New York, close to Canada, in the woods, right? So that's kind of the difference. I just want to show you guys, this is the things that I absolutely love about the countryside. Like, look, you see these forests onto the left, these trees, and then onto the right, you see these trees, and then right in the center of that is the beautiful sun just peeking through. Wow, guys, this is absolutely beautiful. These are the things that I live for. Guys, so basically, living in the countryside, you don't have much choices if you're not close to a bigger town like you would have in Stockholm, which I think everybody would agree. Granted, where you are, the further away you are from the city, the less options you have. Then again, it's like, when you're here and you're living out here, it's like, it's, I mean, look around, guys. You're in nature, this is what you do. So this is, oh wow, it looks so beautiful in here. I mean, look at this, guys. Look at these trees with the black on it. So there's footsteps here. So I think what people have done, people actually hike, and go around this bend. But this looks like, it's going to be, if I was to go any further, it's going to be a long walk. And I don't want to go too far right now. But anyway, guys, so which brings me into my next point is, one of the beauties about living in the Swedish countryside is that, you end up doing things like this that you wouldn't normally do, or at least I wouldn't normally do. I mean, when I lived in New York City, like, I would say in my like younger years, I'm not that but in like my 20s, or my like 18, 19, you would never ever get me to say I want to live in the countryside. Like, in my mind, it was like, who wants to do that? Who wants to live in the middle of nowhere? Like, that is just, but, like, insects and, whatever. But, now it's like, I relish in that. I mean, after living and working in the city and, also not just New York City, but I've lived in other countries in Europe where I worked as well, in big cities. And, after a while, it just started to appeal to me. So, this is the other thing is that when you're here, it prompts you to, like, you want to go out and explore. You want to do things that that you don't normally do when you're in the cities, like things like this. Now this is a big thing for me. Like, I love the fact that I am surrounded by forest. I mean, literally forest everywhere. So this is literally a whole new area that I haven't explored yet. And today I didn't plan on going as far, but once I another day I'll come back here and I will, go on. I'll probably take you guys with me, go on a hike like all the way in here. Because again, there's footsteps all over. So people, and I've seen cars parked here as well. And I've seen people, going in. So I'm sure, somewhere down in there, there's probably a lake or something like that. But anyway, guys, so, that's another part of if you're going to move here. One of the beautiful things that I love about being here is that it's quiet, it's peaceful. You get to think, you get so much more done when your spirit is at rest, your mind is at rest. And you can, especially when you're out here, being out here is not just to just walk through the forest, and it does something to your inner soul, your inner spirit, where, if you have thoughts about, things that are, when I say not really stressing you, but that are on your mind, or things you need to resolve, you literally, just by, walking, like if I was to go further as I normally would do and just walk, by yourself. One of the greatest things about living here in the Swedish countryside, or any countryside for that matter, and when I say countryside, I mean a space like, away from people, is that, you get to become more in tune with yourself, and you become more in tune with everything else around you. You process your thoughts better. You process emotions better. And, it's just a more positive, rejuvenating type of experience. I don't know if it's the energy from the trees or it's the energy from the surroundings. So far, guys, I have covered how to, when you're moving to Sweden, or if you want to move to Sweden. I've covered, getting a bank account, getting a car, the IBAN and payment and all these things. Sweden, they use a system which is called SWEDISH for everything. I must add this, is that when you have this status, like, you're not married to anyone and you didn't get the official residence permit, but you get the 1-year permit, you cannot use SWEDISH. So most of the things that you're going to pay for will be through your local credit card or debit card from your home country. Part of the Swiss system is, it's an interbank to bank system. It's basically cash, which is one of the funniest things, that I realize, is that Sweden prides itself on being a cashless society, but in a sense, it is a cash-based society. So like for instance, in the United States, they just don't use physical cash, but it's cash for everything. So it's less reliance on credit, but more on cash. So again, not physical cash, but digital cash. So like in the United States, you can pay for pretty much almost everything with a credit card, right? You can pay bills with a credit card. You can, your insurance with a credit card, all of that. Not in Sweden. This is why I say, guys, if you don't get the residence permit, and you're going to get a permit like the residence permit, but like the one I explained where you're staying here for a year, you have to have that cash available to sustain your living. So if you purchase a car, as I've said, you purchase it in cash, you pay your insurance, you're paying it in cash, you're paying everything you do. The average Swede also does the same thing. It's just they have a residence permit, right? And they can get a loan to purchase a car, a loan to purchase a home, a loan to take a holiday. But if you're coming here under this status, you're paying for everything out of your pockets. There's nothing you're getting from anything. Hospitals, as I've mentioned, anything you do, you're paying cash. Maybe aside from breathing the air. So anyway, so back to so Swish, here you will have to use your home credit card from your bank. But the thing is, as I've mentioned, you cannot use that credit card to pay any bills or anything. You can pretty much only pay for food and drinks with a credit card. Other than that, when you need to pay like your home bills, your electricity, internet, whatever else you need to pay, your car bills, all of that, you basically either going to transfer the funds from your home bank to the Swedish bank, you see, and then the Swedish bank has a limit every month, which is about 15,000 Swedish kroners, right? Every month that you can take in from your home country, but you can bring in more than that, but you also have to prove where this money comes from. And it does take some time for that money to be available because they also have to check that. So just so you guys understand that it's a little bit of more of a challenge to go this route. But again, if you have the cash available in your account, you just, transfer, you calculate how much you think it's going to cost for your insurance, for the home, for the car, for your living, your expenses, and then you just transfer that amount one time, have them do the checks and balances so you don't ever have to worry about doing that each month. So that's the other part of the payment system and living here in Sweden without being married to a resident or getting the same status to visit a family member. The final part that I want to cover is the difference between New York and Sweden, because I've gotten that question as well. And the difference between living in New York City or coming from New York City and living in Stockholm, because I also live there as well. You can't compare New York City and Stockholm. Like, it's just, it's like night and day, I am a very social person, but as I explained, I'm also a person who easily adaptable. I can adapt to any situation at any given moment. That's a very big attribute that I love about me, right? As in, for instance, I am super happy doing this. And I'm also super happy sitting on a yacht in the Mediterranean, sipping a glass of champagne, right? So, or in the Caribbean, on a beach somewhere hanging out, right? But, I can adapt to every situation. And that's one of the main things I forgot to mention, to say that if you're a person who can adapt, when I say adapt, you can get comfortable living in New York City with all the amenities like you could ever want. New York City is like, you get everything and anything when you want it, like now. The internet, that's another thing I've noticed. There's good internet out here in the countryside. You still have good internet service, but it's not as good as if you're in a city and it's just like this. There's sometimes I get a little bit of lag here and there. I've called a company before, but that could be just me, my area. I don't know, guys. I've tried to figure this out for more than a year now, and it's still the same thing. But don't get me wrong, it is good though. I'm still able to stream movies or whatever I need to do. Anyways, so, New York and Sweden is night and day, and then it's like, I love New York. There's times I do miss New York. I will be there soon. But again, I'm a person who, as I said, I'm not in Sweden full time. So I'm not here a whole year without leaving or going to New York or going somewhere else. So I love that, and I didn't want to have that. I don't want to be in one place for an extended period of time. I love to travel. I love to see things. I love spontaneousness. I love to do different things, right? So for me, it's a very easy transition going from New York City to Stockholm, because, Stockholm is considered the capital city, and it's the biggest one. But really, guys, honestly, when you're there for a while, you realize how small Stockholm is. It is great though, but when you compare it to New York City, obviously you can't, right? So I'm just doing this part of it because people have asked me. So the difference between the two is night and day. Stockholm, it's like, it's fun, it's great. It's like downtown Manhattan. It's like a cozy version of downtown Manhattan, and then, the whole New York, it's just night and day. You know what New York City is. Stockholm is just, it's very nice, quaint, chill vibe to it. You have a little places you could go here and there. That's pretty much it, but New York, you've got a variety of everything. So you get it. You cannot compare the two. Stockholm has its charm. New York has its charm. The difference between Stockholm and the countryside, that again, guys, I'm just going through this because it's questions I'm answering for general public and other people who might have that question. Stockholm, again, is quiet, is quaint. It is the bigger city to pretty much most places. You still have also Gothenburg. You have Malmo, but Stockholm, again, it's a cozier version of, I would say, New York, right? It's my best way of putting it. But how does it compare to the countryside? Well, where I am, I'm about 2.5 hours from Stockholm, as I mentioned in previous videos. One of the reasons why I chose to live that distance, I didn't want to go any further, was because, it enables me to be able to get to Stockholm within a day and make it back here to the countryside if I need to do that within a day, right? That was important to me, but I have a place there, but I also wanted to have that, that distance. It's doable. Anything over 3 hours, then you kind of feel like you want to be there longer, and it's more of a drive. But the difference between there and here, again, night and day. The countryside, look around, like, you know this is what I am doing, and this is everywhere. This is all over, but that's the difference between Stockholm and here. It's that you have all this nature. But again, in Stockholm, guys, I need a lot of, Swedish people, you understand this, but for a lot of the foreigners who is continually growing to watch my channel, is that, Stockholm is, you do have this in around Stockholm too. You don't need to go 2 hours out. If you were to get an apartment in Stockholm, you can also take a bus towards, like, what is it, Nynäshamn, right? And then around that area, there's a lot of stuff like this, and there's also other areas surrounding Stockholm that's just like this. As I mentioned earlier, Sweden is a forest, so you're surrounded by it. But yes, when you come further up where I am, or you go further from where I am, you have these vast amounts of forests, mountains, lakes, streams, so I'm going to bring a lot of that to you guys, because, since my last video, a lot of people have commented, a lot of suggestions, as in a lot of videos previously to this one. I hope I answered all the questions that were posed to me properly. I know I jumped over a lot of subjects, or, and I know once I finish editing this video and you guys see it, I'm going to be like, oh, I forgot to say this, I forgot to say that. But I mean, generally, guys, I am super happy. And as I've said to you guys, this is my perspective being, with my situation, meaning that I'm not, I'm not in Sweden, like, to live for 3 to 4 to 5 years. Yes, I will be here, coming here for as long as I own my home and have, my investments here. But, for someone else who's coming here to permanently live, I hope this can also help you. And for all the other people who have asked questions about how can you live in Sweden without having to go this route of getting married and all of this, this is how you can do it. The other thing I want to mention briefly is that if anyone is watching this video and I know this happens, if you fall in love with someone, or a girl or a guy or whatever, and you decide, okay, you're going to come to Sweden on a 3-month visa, but you're not going to go back. You're going to stay in Sweden and you're not going to go back to your home country. Don't do it. Do not do it. You're going to ruin your chances of ever being with that person. Do not. Let me just say this really quick. Do not break the law in Sweden. That's another point I need to make on this video. Do not break the law in Sweden. In Sweden, the law is the law. It is what it is. You come here, respect the laws, respect the rules, respect the country, respect the authorities, because Sweden is set up in a way where, the laws, they have different laws than other countries. And I know some of us may be, sorry for the camera shaking, I know some of us may be used to, more lenient ways, or whatever the situation is. But as long as you follow the law in Sweden, you have no problems. I'm just going to say that. Respect the country, respect the rules, respect the people, respect the laws, respect the lands, the property, all of that. Don't come here and break the law. It is not in your favor. Again, with the immigration situation, do not come here. Do not plan to overstay your visa, because you're going to ruin your chances of ever being able to come here again. That being said, Sweden is set up, the system is set up like this, right? If you're not, it's very difficult for anyone to come to Sweden illegally and live in Sweden illegally. It's like, literally, guys, everywhere you go and everything you do, you need that personal number. In the United States, I mean, we have tons of illegal immigration, but the reason why is because especially New York, you can fly in there, not return home, work, get a social security number, because even though you're illegal, you can obtain a personal number to pay taxes, right? Most people don't know that. In the United States, you can do that. With that number, you can get a driver's license, a car. You literally can set up a life in the United States without even going through the proper authorities. That's why we have so many illegal people in the United States. Now, that's a whole different subject. I am not getting into politics. I'm just saying. So, but here in Sweden, you cannot survive in this society without being legally entered into the system. Guys, I've been talking a lot and in this beautiful landscapes, guys. So listen, you guys, this is one thing I have to say. I might, I will add more things in other videos once they come to my mind. But I've been talking about this for a little while now, so I think most people get it. But one positive note I want to leave with you guys is, now it's a new year and all of this stuff, but I always do things throughout the years, right? Number one thing, guys, if anyone is in any relationships that you feel has been negative to you, that is dragging you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually, making life difficult for you to focus on other things, relationships, meaning it could be with a spouse, it could be with family, it could be with work, it could be with friends, anything that is in your life, guys, and this has been bothering you for a while, and you're trying to make sense and trying to make it work and trying to fix it, and listen, there always comes a time in everyone's life that we have to take account and look at the things that is bothering us or affecting us or affecting our ability. There comes a time when we have to come to the realization and say, this is not for me. And that time, it takes strength, determination, and your will to want more. And the message that I want to say, guys, is whatever the situation is in your life and these things weigh on you, or emotionally or mentally or spiritually, maybe we're afraid to make those changes because we feel like, as bad as this situation is, at least, we make excuses for why we should stay there or try to make this work or that work or whatever the situation is. Guys, we have one life to live. One life to live. We have to make the best of each and every day. There's not a fairy tale that, we're going to be happy forever, but we have to reach a point where we say enough is enough. And now I'm going to make a change. And guys, it's time to make that change. Whatever the situation is that's weighing you down, that you're going through, or, emotionally, physically, or spiritually, let it go. Move on with your life. Go towards the path of happiness. Happiness is what brings joy, and it brings excitement and positivity. Guys, it's time to make a change. And on that note, you know what I'm going to say. Peace, love, joy, and happiness.